When Ferrari said that it wanted to come up with an all-wheel drive car, everybody was upset about it. A Ferrari and an SUV wasn't a good idea. And then they came up with the Ferrari FF, the shooting brake, and honestly speaking, it wasn't too bad. That long bonnet and that really nice big cabin, it really looked very nice. And this car right here, the Ferrari GTC4 Lusso that you're seeing here, is the evolution of the FF. It has all the goodness of the FF, all the practicality, the go anywhere capability, well, relatively, and yet it's a lot better. It has incorporated some new technologies and it looks a little different as well. We drove this car in Mumbai, and while we cannot boast having driven it on a racetrack, we had this car all to ourselves for about half a day in Mumbai, and we drove it and we really found that this is very, very usable as an everyday sports car. Now we are on the famous Bandra Worli Sea Link, and we'll probably get a chance to open this car a little bit, although there are speed restrictions and we are not supposed to be driving this car how a Ferrari is meant to be driven. So just for the sake of being able to listen to the sound, I have put it in manual, and hopefully you'll be able to listen to that beautiful growl of this V8 bi-turbo, which changes its note based on the speed at which you're traveling, the engine speed basically. So at idling you won't be disturbing the neighbors, but as you go about 3,500 RPM, the flaps just open up and they'll announce your arrival to the world. Somewhat like this. Not sure if I can drive faster than that. So all of this is standard, the black leather and the red stitching in it. The stitching, if you just want the stitching, you have to pay extra for the stitching.
Yeah, it's not a lot, it's about a lakh.
Okay.
But you can choose the thickness of stitching, you can choose the color of the stitching, and you can have whatever color you want. You can even choose the seats to be in a different stitch versus the dashboard, depending on what fabric and interior you choose. But the customization that these cars offer are second to none, because there's a lot you can do.
So when you're in sport, still if you want the suspension to be comfortable, is this when you press this button?
That's right. And you know who invented that?
No.
Schumacher.
Okay.
Really?
Because
Ferrari officially call it the Schumacher button.
Oh, yeah. He did a lot of development.
He did a huge amount for that.
the steering is very direct. You can like really feel the surface on the road on the steering, and I think the low profile tires also help quite a bit. And there is absolutely no slack at the center. The steering feels very quick even at these slow speeds, and these mild turns that I'm making right now, you can feel that the steering is pretty quick. And now we can hear the growl of that V8 bi-turbo. 600 PS of power and a whopping 760 Newton meters of torque, which is more than the V12 in terms of torque. This engine produces more torque than even the V12. The V12 on this car produces 697 Newton meters, but the V8 bi-turbo that we have here produces 760 Newton meters, which is a lot more. Power on the V12 although is a lot more. There you get 690 PS of power, and it's one of the last few surviving V12s you'll find anywhere. But this car has the V8 bi-turbo. So once you turn the engine on, you have these robotic arms which bring the belt to you, and it becomes much easier for you to access them.
Correct.
And that's important, because otherwise it becomes quite a hassle to access the belt. So this car comes with a 12-way adjustable front driver and passenger electric seats.
That's right.
And the seats are really beautiful, I must say. They feel very different from your usual seats. They are very firm and very, very well contoured. Very good support. So both the cars, the Lusso T and the Lusso, are exactly the same on the outside, but this one, the T, the lettering here signifies that this is 3.9 liter V8 bi-turbo and not the 6.3 liter V12. So the T means that this is the turbo engine and not the V12 naturally aspirated engine. And that's the only difference, as Bairam has told us. A lot of things that I did not know about the car, I've just got to know. And you also have this beautiful little dimpled platform here to rest your legs on. Feels nice. Honestly, on these kind of well-surfaced roads, you cannot really tell a difference whether it's a Ferrari or any other sports car. The ride quality is pretty good. So hopefully you were able to listen to that beautiful V8 turbo growl this time around. So now let's see what are the changes that have been incorporated on the erstwhile FF onto the new GTC4 Lusso. And the biggest change that you'll probably see is up at the front, and the power from the monstrous 6.3 litre V12 engine had been increased. While this is a 3.9 litre bi-turbo, there is a V12 also, and to ensure that the engine had enough cooling, the front grille of this car was completely changed, and now it has this big, huge air inlet to allow as much air inside as possible. And the side vents have been completely converted into this smooth surface. You have this beautiful looking set of headlamps and the prancing horse sitting right here. And the signature element of any shooting brake car is its long bonnet and its somewhat estate-ish rear end of the car. And it really looks sporty despite being a shooting brake. It almost looks like a fastback. And if you look at a few other design changes, these three vents here not only just look unbelievably beautiful, they lend this car its character, but they're also very functional. They release a lot of pressure that is built from those wheel arches, and they allow for a better coefficient of drag. They allow for better aerodynamic ability. They let a lot of heat come out from them, and not just they look phenomenally beautiful, but they also are very, very, very functional. It has this beautiful roof which is all glass, and you'd be surprised to know that this is not a standard equipment. This glass roof is something that you'll have as an option, and if you don't opt for it, your Ferrari GTC4 Lusso is going to cost you about 16 lakh rupees less, because this is special glass. It reflects all the heat outside and it keeps all the warmth inside. So in warm weather it keeps all the heat outside, and if it's too cold outside, it'll keep you warm inside. Another big change that the GTC4 Lusso has seen over the FF is this integrated spoiler, which adds to the downforce tremendously and also makes it look really, really gorgeous. It also now has these two lights. Earlier there was only one, and apart from that, this absolutely smashing diffuser here adds tremendously to the downforce. The one grouse that I have here is that the rear view camera is placed very, very low, and while you're driving in somewhat wet conditions, this gets mucky very, very quickly. You have these four exhausts here. For this car here, the GTC4 Lusso T, the 0 to 100 acceleration is slightly higher. It's 3.5 seconds and the top speed is 320 kilometers per hour. The 0 to 100 acceleration of the V12 is 3.4 seconds and the top speed is 335 kilometers per hour. One thing to really miss here is a rear wash and wipe. So if you're driving in the rain, this is going to get mucky and it is definitely going to affect the visibility. Let's see the boot space here. And since it had to accommodate a rear differential, you have this raised portion here, and the boot space here, although we don't have the exact number, should be around 400 liters, and it's sufficient enough for a family of 4 to go out for a smallish weekend. So the space here in the boot is not bad at all. You also have these hooks for tethers, and I really think that for a Ferrari this is a very good amount of boot space that you can actually practically use. Let's shut it off in a powered manner, and that's another great practical feature that you have here. The stop lamp, all LED unit, is mounted right here, and you have this beautiful prancing horse in chrome sitting right on the tail of this car. The one thing that I must tell you, that while the ground clearance here might not look like much, this car is still pretty practical. It's about 135 mm of ground clearance, which is good enough to take the mild speed breakers in its stride. But if you come across any vicious bumps, you have a lift system both at the front and at the rear, which can take this car up by up to 40 mm, and that would take care of the more vicious bumps as well. As I told you about Ferraris, a lot of things that you think are probably standard equipment are not, and this badge here, these calipers, these wheels, all of this stuff costs you extra money. This is not standard fare. And the wheels here are Michelin Pilot Sport specially made tires. At the rear you have a 295 section tire, while up front you have a slightly slimmer 245 section tire. Time now to get inside and see what all do we have there. Let me just open it and show you what's so special about this car. So apart from the all-wheel drive system that's available internationally, This, by the way, is not the all-wheel drive version. However, apart from being an all-wheel drive version, this car also is a grand tourer, which means that it can accommodate, in theory, 4 adults. So if you can see, the space in the back is quite generous for a Ferrari, and you actually can seat an adult here without much of a problem. And in fact, we had a few of the Ferrari representatives sitting here for over an hour chatting with us, and they were perfectly comfortable. So these seats are pretty usable. If not for really long journeys, for medium journeys, they're perfectly okay, and you can sit there and enjoy your ride in a Ferrari. The seats, as you would imagine, are very low, and here, as you can see, the electrical adjustments for the seats are very comprehensive. You have a ton of adjustments for the seats, and you either have it all or you have nothing. So this whole electric package for the seats has to be ordered, and it's optional, it's not standard. If you go with the standard package, you'll have manual seats. Yeah, I'm not kidding. And this complete electric package is going to set you back by about 12 lakh rupees. Inside these door panels, you really don't have space for a big bottle. You can only fit these small water bottles here. And this memory package for the seats also is a part of the electric seat package that I talked about. You have the fuel lid release button here and the boot release button here. And the leather here is one of the highest quality ever possible. Italy is known for its leather, and a Ferrari won't be a Ferrari if it does not sport the finest of leather from that country. You have this contrasting stitching as well, and while the leather is standard, if you want to go for this contrasting sporty stitching, which is available in a variety of thicknesses and colors, you'll have to pay extra. You have this beautiful aluminum scuff plate here with Ferrari lettering over it, and you have this very sporty pedals, aluminum with no rubber studs, proper aluminum fare, and they feel absolutely phenomenal. The steering wheel here is a little bit more comprehensive than the Portofino that you have parked right there, and you have a couple of extra modes here. So you have the electronic stability control off mode, you have the sport mode, you have the comfort mode, you have the wet mode, and finally you have the snow mode as well. Apart from that, this button here is called the Schumacher button, and in sport mode, where you want the engine and the transmission and everything else to be as fierce as possible, you can have the suspension at the softest setting possible by just pressing onto this button. You have these turn indicator buttons here, and apart from that, you can go to high or low beam using this button here. The engine start stop button is right here, and this steering wheel, which is flat bottomed, is done in this beautiful carbon fiber. This is not a faux carbon fiber steering wheel, this is pure proper carbon fiber. And as with all Ferraris, you'll have to pay for this additional treatment, otherwise you'll get it as a standard steering wheel. And there's a shift light here which comes on to let you know that it's time to upshift. In terms of practicality and space, the Lusso really impresses you, and you have this very generous space here where you can put a couple of wallets, a couple of cell phones. You have this big bottle holder here, and even when you shut it, this space can be used to pop your cell phone, wallet, whatever you have, because the surface is anti-slip, and this can actually be used to put whatever you want. In addition, you also have this armrest, and it's got a magnetic function, so it really sticks, and underneath you have a ton of space and this velvety kind of a touch. You also have this 12-volt power socket, and you have these 2 USB charging sockets along with the light. Now, as I told you before, Ferraris are a little different when it comes to selecting a gear, and you don't have a proper drive selector here. You have these 3 buttons, and the rest of the stuff is taken care of by these pedals. So you push the engine start stop, and after that, if you want to take it off from its parking mode, you have to press the upshift pedal like so, and if you want to put it back in neutral, you have to press both the pedals together like so, and now it's in neutral. So that's how you engage or disengage drive. Apart from that, you have this launch button here, you have a reverse button here, and you have this auto button in which we are right now. In addition to that, you have this very beautiful instrument console where you have this tachometer in yellow in the middle, and on the left you have the speedometer, and on the right you have a lot of other information, including the oil pressure and the battery voltage, and a lot of other information which you can browse through. Now, to browse through the screen here, you just have to press this little button here, and then you can browse through all the information that you have in the screen. And right now I am looking at the tire pressure monitoring system. You can have a look at the engine oil pressure as well as the battery voltage. You can have a look at the oil temperature. You can have a look at the engine temperature, or you can just simply look at the speed of the car. So this little dial here would help you browse through all the different information that you have on this digital screen. And now I think it's time that we fired up the engine and made you listen to the beautiful exhaust note of this 3.9 liter bi-turbo engine. We are in a public building, so cannot be revving it all day, but we really hope that it gave you an idea of how it sounds. In the center you have this very beautiful 10.3 inch screen. This is high res, very sensitive to touch, and you have navigation here, you have infotainment settings, you also have the functionality for a split screen for the driver and the passenger. The AC vents here are very easy to use. This is how you control the direction of the flow, and you can turn it on or off using this toggle switch here. And it has many levels, so you can control the level of flow as well. The cruise control buttons are here, the light buttons are here. This is the electronic parking brake, and the steering can be electrically adjusted for reach as well as for rake. This button that you see here is the lift button, and you press it once to lift the car up by 40 mm. And these are the parking sensors, and this button right here is to engage or disengage the rear view camera. Like all the Ferraris, the window controls are right here in the middle, and behind it you have this little crevice to put your key. This is the button for the hazard lights. The HVAC controls are here, but there is this special diffuse button here, which if you press will flip open this flap here, and it essentially is used to diffuse the air so that it doesn't fall into your face directly. The quality of the buttons here could probably have been a little better. Inside the entire cabin, I really think that this is the only part where the touch of the buttons is not really very high quality. I personally would have loved these buttons to be in metal. You have this little button here to open the glove box, which is a reasonably sized one. And similar to the Portofino, you also have this little screen here where the passenger can have a look at a lot of things. You can control the media, you can choose the source so the driver does not get distracted. You have the controls for the navigation. You can have a look at the performance, the engine speed, the gearing gauge, the speed, the G-forces acting on the car, as well as you can get a lot of data which lets you know how the electronics on the car are working, the traction control, the electronic stability control, the e-diff, the four-wheel steering, and the slip control. You can also have a look at which mode has been engaged by the driver. So there's a lot of information available here and a lot to do for the passenger. This essentially is a twin cockpit concept developed by Ferrari, and it separates the driver and the passenger with this beautiful floating panel, and there's enough gap between the driver and the passenger, and both of them get their own space. And these seats are really beautifully done, and they bolster you very well. It's a special feeling sitting here. The steering falls to your hand very beautifully, and this long bonnet, when you sit here and you drive the car, this long bonnet really makes you feel that you're driving something really special. Especially when you're going through some tight turns, you do realize that it's a sports car, and you do really need to have some special skills to maneuver this car through the tight spaces. It really is a special feeling driving the GTC4 Lusso, and I, in my personal opinion, enjoy driving this car more than the Portofino. If you look here, you'll see these three buttons, and the left one is to turn the auto engine start and stop function on or off. You have the door lock function here, and you also have this button to turn the alarm on or off. If your car is getting towed away, you can turn it off so that it doesn't come on if the car is getting towed away. If you look at the dash, you'll find that it's multi-layered. There is this 3D sculpted kind of a look to it. You have soft to touch materials, leather here. This perforated treatment to the leather makes it look really special. And you have this contrasting stitching. It really feels like a very special place to be. It really wraps itself around you, and you feel like you are driving a proper sports car. And the GTC4 Lusso definitely feels a lot more special to drive than the Portofino. Given a chance, I would any day prefer driving this car. The steering here also feels a lot more livelier. It feels a lot more direct. On the Portofino, it's an electric steering. Here it's a hydraulic steering, and it feels very direct, very quick. And even in the city speeds on the Bandra Worli ceiling, we could very easily imagine how quick this steering would be when you would be driving it around a set of bends. I'm in love with this car. I really think that it's a beautiful place to be in, and it really makes you realize what driving a proper sports car feels like. One important aspect of this car are the rear seats, and we are going to show you how comfortable or uncomfortable it is to get there and how comfortable and uncomfortable it is to sit there and be driven. Let's have a look. So to get inside, there is this little flap here, and you just have to pull it and you can leave it, and then the seat will electrically move forward. And now there is enough space for me to slide myself in, although the roof is a little low, but it's not all that difficult to get in. And once you're inside, you just have to pull it again and the seat is going to come all the way back. Now as you can see, the front seat, it's not all the way ahead, and there is space for you to ask the front passenger to take it a little further, and that will liberate a lot more knee room. But even now I'm comfortable. There is sufficient knee room for me, and not just that, I have sufficient amount of thigh support as well. The leg room is a little cramped, so if the front passenger is a little accommodating, I will be very comfortable. And these seats feel brilliant. I feel very well cocooned, wrapped, and it's a very cozy place to be. There is very good lateral support as well, and it's uncannily comfortable for a Ferrari. You also have this armrest with a magnetic function, and you can put your wallet or a cell phone, whatever you want here. You have two cup holders and you have AC vents for your own. Honestly speaking, this seat feels pretty comfortable, and if I don't have a very tall passenger sitting in the front seat, I would be reasonably comfortable. I also have a reasonable amount of headroom here, and unless you are 6 feet or taller, you will not have any problem at all sitting here. You also have this strap to hold on to. You can also flip this part of the rear seat down like so and access whatever you want from the boot very conveniently. And in all honesty, these seats feel much more comfortable than what I would have imagined. Rear passengers also get reading lights. This leather quality is absolutely amazing. It's one of the nicest quality leathers I have ever seen anywhere on any car, and you can always have it customized in the colors of your choice. I also like this beautiful contrasting pattern of red and this light brown. This inscription of a prancing horse on the headrests makes it all the more special, and this is one nice cozy place to be in. It's really comfortable. Although the rear windows are not all that big, but I'm not feeling claustrophobic here thanks to this really beautiful large panoramic fixed glass roof. The rear passengers also get this magazine holder, and as is the case with getting in, getting out is not too difficult either. One small but important detail that you probably would have missed is that the doors are frameless and they look absolutely gorgeous when they're opened. Now just look at this car in profile. It's really long. The bonnet is really long, and sometimes it can be a bit of a chore to drive this car around in tight spots. And to make sure that it doesn't become prohibitively difficult, what Ferrari have done is they've added something that they call is 4RMS, where all the four wheels, apart from being driven as an all-wheel drive system, it's not an all-wheel drive this one, but the GTC4 Lusso is an all-wheel drive car in the V12 format. But in tight conditions, what happens is all four wheels have steering. So at slow speeds, while the front wheel will turn left, the rear wheel will turn slightly right so that the turning radius becomes smaller. But when it's driving at higher speeds, what happens is both the wheels turn in tandem to add to the stability, and that really makes it a very special car. This all-wheel drive steering system is not something which is unique to this car, but that definitely helps improve its maneuverability as well as its stability at high speeds. So that's that, guys. The Ferrari GTC4 Lusso, the all-wheel drive Ferrari, an evolution of the FF, and this car is going to set you poorer by about 4.64 crore rupees. And again, you can add over 1 crore rupees worth of accessories to it if you really so wished. So it's an expensive car, and of the two cars that I drove today, the Portofino and this one, I would any given day drive this one. The experience behind the wheel was unbelievable, and with its lift system where it can rise up by 40 mm, I really think that this is a little bit more suitable for our bad roads. I really hope that you liked this video. If you did, smash that like button, subscribe to Motoroids, do follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and until next time, this is Amit Changani signing off. Rev hard, rev free, and drive safe.